So here in the School of Orisha Studies, we recognize Obi divination as one. It's the culminating moment of a particular ritual sequence, right? It is the ritual that punctuates a ceremony. That ceremony could be Ori veneration. That ceremony could be Oseifa. But what we're doing is this is the moment you've been waiting for. We've gone through all these processes and we've made these prayers and we've set our intentions. Now we want to know, what's the response? What does Ori say? Right? And so for this particular conversation, what we're talking about is giving Obi to our Ori. Okay? And what I want to really emphasize at this point is the fact that the ceremony has its own philosophy. The ceremony has its own vibration. It has its own qualities that are distinct. When we are doing Obi divination, we need to understand that Obi, which is implied in the name, Obi, the word, means to repel. You repel or you push away. And when we invoke Obi, we say, Obi loni bi ku. Obi pushes away sick, death. Obi loni baron. Obi pushes away sickness. Obi pushes away loss. Obi pushes away litigation. Obi removes all forms of negativity. So we understand from that at the point that we're casting Obi like this represents a purification ritual. It's a protection ritual. We're trying to purify our environment and protect ourselves from all forms of negativity. In that regard, casting Obi represents a kind of spiritual hygiene. Okay, it represents a kind of spiritual hygiene because we know from the ritual that we're supposed to be clean when we do it. By the time we're casting the Obi, we should have bathed. We should have brushed our teeth, right? We should have gotten dressed. And now we're approaching the Orisha. We're approaching Ori from a purified state. And now we're casting the Obi. We know from the invocations that we covered last week, we know that Ifa tells us that the liar cast Obi and it was rejected. The betrayer cast the Obi and it was rejected. But when the righteous cast Obi, the Obi was accepted right away. Right? So we know that Obi is a if we could say, a barometer of purity. It's a barometer of spiritual hygiene. If my spirit is clean, then my Obi ought to be accepted. Okay, so part of the philosophy of Obi is that it really emphasizes spiritual hygiene, spiritual purity. You go into it pure. You don't just expect that Obi's going to do everything no matter how I approach. No, I'm going into this with a certain kind of an intention, and I'm setting that intention from the inside out, and my outside is in harmony with my inside. Another dimension of the philosophy of casting Obi is alignment. So we align ourselves with what is the spirit of the day, so to speak. I'm casting Obi on Oseifa, which means I know what day Oseifa is. I'm calculating. I have it marked in my calendar, or I have it set into my phone, but I know what day it is. This is not a random day. This is the day that Oromila's and Oshun and Eshu's energy is, channeling and shuttling back and forth. So I'm in alignment with the force of life. Okay, so casting Obi also encourages alignment and precision, right? Also very important. Even if we're doing our Ori veneration on, let's say, on the 7-day calendar, I can do my Ordi veneration on Sunday with the understanding that Sunday is the day of longevity. I can do it on Monday with the understanding that Monday is the day of prosperity. I can do my Ordi veneration on Tuesday with the understanding that this is the day of victory. Either way, I'm aligning my Ordi with the spirit of that day. And I'm setting my intentions according to the spirit and the energy of that day. No matter how you slice it, it promotes precision and alignment, right? Another dimension of the philosophy of casting Obi is that it also encourages humility. No matter how smart I am, no matter how many books I've read, no matter how well informed I am, I'm acknowledging the fact that I need support from the great beyond. I need the support of my Ordi, and I'm recognizing that my Ordi is not my thinking. My Ordi is not my intellect, right? My Ordi is the one that has been choosing since I was in the prenatal state. Ordi is the one that chose to make me intelligent in the first place. Right? So I, the ego me, is going to accept and humble myself before the soul consciousness of me, that the Ordi. And I'm saying, Ordi, I am acknowledging that you've been making the choices from the beginning, and I'm calling upon that aspect of my existence that has been choosing since before I was a physical being, before I was introduced to space and time. So I'm acknowledging that part of me, and I'm asking that supreme divine dimension of my existence to now show me, right? Give me some affirmation in a way that's not just my thinking. So in that regard, casting Obi promotes and emphasizes humility, right? Likewise, when we give the offering, we're also recognizing, right, this principle of reciprocity, to say that I am acknowledging that the fact that you are communicating with me, and I'm gonna reciprocate, not only with my prayers and my devotion and my sincerity, but I'm gonna reciprocate by giving you this Obi, right? It promotes and encourages and reinforces the law of reciprocity. We're giving and we're taking. We're giving and we're taking. We're giving and we're taking, right? And likewise, finally, it in that regard, it emphasizes what we could call the Yoruba spiritual democracy, the Yoruba tendency towards spiritual democracy, that says everyone has access to the divine. Everyone can commune with the divine. Whoever I am, I can commune with the divine. I have access, right? And the divine will communicate back with me. If I ask and I follow the methodology and the procedure, my Ordi will speak to me. My Ordi will affirm my position. My Ordi will correct me, right? The only thing is, as far as my ability to read and interpret the message, this is where ritual specialists become increasingly valuable, because they not only read for themselves, but they're doing this all day, every day. They're divining for thousands and thousands of people over years and years and years. So they've seen this scenario and this combination many more times than I have. So they have a different place as ritual specialists. It doesn't make them obsolete. It really elevates their position. You have a greater appreciation for a professional diviner when you exercise your own ability to divine for yourself, because you realize, okay, my experience is limited to my experience, to me divining for myself, but the ritual specialist is divining for lots and lots of people under different circumstances. But in both instances, they have validity, they have importance, they have purpose. And so I, as the one who's casting the Obi for myself to ask what my audience says, I'm a participant in this democratic process that says everybody has a voice and everybody has a valid and legitimate position, obligation, and right to access and commune with the divine. It isn't something that only some people can do. And so these are all the philosophical, or these are some of the philosophical underpinnings of just casting Obi. Okay, just casting the Obi. And so with that in mind, what I'd like to do now is go through the suggested steps, right, in the process and methodology for casting Obi to your Ordi. Okay.